On today's show, Devin Booker versus De'Aaron Fox's brand new contract extensions. Does Booker's contract look a little better now? Plus, Brett Siegel from Clutch Points joins me to put a bow on the Jonathan Kuminga to the Phoenix Suns rumors. Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Suns. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of the Ben Garcia Show mornings on YouTube, and a credentialed Suns media member. Thanks for making Locked On Suns your first listen on this beautiful Tuesday. Don't forget, Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube.com. So click that follow or subscribe button to do what thousands, dare I say millions of Suns fans have already done, become an everydayer, and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I've got a banger of a show for you guys today. We're putting a bow on the Jonathan Kuminga situation and the rumors, or maybe not. What does Brett Siegel of Clutch Points have to say? Is Kuminga to the Suns heating up, or is it fizzling out? We'll get to that in just a minute. However, we got some things to talk about here. So today, De'Aaron Fox got a brand spanking new extension. And I'm a little annoyed with the NBA community. Not Suns fans. They are the smartest fans on earth, especially the ones that watch this show. And maybe not my guy, Brett Siegel. I don't want to go after him for being on the show today, but everyone else in the NBA community sphere can get it. Because De'Aaron Fox got a brand new extension today. It was a 4-year, $222 million extension with the San Antonio Spurs per Spot Track. Devin Booker, as you might know, got a 2-year, $133 maximum contract extension with the Phoenix Suns. And Devin Booker in his age 32 and age 33 seasons will be making $64 million a year and $69 million a year. Comparing that to De'Aaron Fox's extension, which he'll be making $49, $53, $57, and $61 million a year. Wait a second. De'Aaron Fox is going to make $61 million a year towards the end of that contract? Well, that doesn't make sense. If I'm listening to the NBA community, he doesn't deserve that. Because if a 4-time All-Star finished, I believe, 4th in MVP voting, top 5 in MVP voting, has been on the All-NBA, first team, and third team, has taken his team to the NBA Finals, if he doesn't deserve an extension, and I'm well aware it's a couple of $1 million more than De'Aaron Fox's in the final 2 seasons of Devin Booker's extension, but the narrative around it just doesn't make sense. Let's compare the 2 stars. Devin Booker, 4-time NBA All-Star, All-NBA first team, All-NBA third team, has been to an NBA Finals. De'Aaron Fox, well, wait a second. 1 All-Star game, 1 All-NBA third team. He did lead the league in steals in 2024, so I could build him a statue outside the Spurs arena for that right there. But it's interesting. The narrative isn't the same between the 2 players. Because what I heard from Devin Booker was, he's not a number 1 option. He's not good defensively. He's a mid-range guy. Can't shoot the 3 ball super well. The Suns are ridiculous and dumb for doing that extension. Okay. Do you feel that same way about De'Aaron Fox? 4 years, $229 million for doing more or less nothing in the NBA? How many playoff series wins does De'Aaron Fox have? Big old goose egg. None. I know he's been to the playoffs. He was the 2 seed. And what happened there? He must have won his playoff series, right? Oh no, he lost to the Golden State Warriors in 7 games at home in game 7 as a favorite. But no. The narrative should be Devin Booker doesn't deserve his extension. Now, most Suns fans were very thrilled, and Suns media as well, that Devin Booker deserved that extension, and deserved he did. And I'm not saying you don't pay De'Aaron Fox. I'm not stupid. I'm well aware you pay him or he leaves. And you just traded for the guy, so you knew you were going to pay him. But the Devin Booker avenue is where it drives me a little insane. Because there's plenty of arguments to be made. De'Aaron Fox doesn't deserve a maximum extension. Even last year, only played 62 games. Devin Booker played 75 games. The year before that, he played the year before that, he played 74 games. Devin Booker played 68. So they're both roughly the same amount of durable. But Devin Booker's the better shooter. I would say they're the same, or I would say that he's a better offensive player. I'd say they're roughly the same defensively. Neither guy is elite. I think De'Aaron Fox, because he's a little bit longer and very agile of a guy, obviously could add probably a little bit more to a defense, maybe more than Devin Booker did, but neither guy is elite. Neither guy is making all NBA defensive team. So where's the narratives? One guy didn't deserve it because you just didn't like the idea of one guy making more money, but it's a really clear way of understanding. If you understand, it's a really easy way to tell if someone actually understands what Devin Booker is getting, because the dollar amount doesn't actually matter. It's a percentage of cap. And Devin Booker, this is what got everyone up in arms. In 2025, 2026, Devin Booker is going to make 34.36% of the league's cap per spot track. Well, man, that's ridiculous. And if Booker's going to make $64 million in his age 32 season, he must be going way up. Oh, no. He's making 35.12% of the league's cap. Not even up a full percentage from what he's making next year. And so De'Aaron Fox, can someone explain to me why in his age 32 season, where he'll be making $61 million a year, that he deserves to make 32% of the league cap? He hasn't even done anything for the Spurs yet, except be injured. So it's just funny how we paint a narrative for one guy because we don't like the dollar amount he's going to get, to another guy because one just said supermax and the other one said maximum extension. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so I hope it wakes up some Suns fans who weren't thrilled with the idea that Devin Booker is going to be making as much money as he's going to be making. And I get it. It is an absurd number for playing a sports game for your job. But hey, man, that's what the market commands. That's what you pay him. De'Aaron Fox, at least when you match up the accolades, why? Well, no. You don't understand. He's really good. He averages a lot of points. Okay, where's the All-Star games? Where's the playoff wins? Where's winning Game 7 at home against the Golden State Warriors? Remember that Kings team? If I'm not mistaken, they went up 2-0 in that series. And then Golden State Warriors surely came back and won 4 of the next 5. And that's the guy you want to pay money to. Listen, I have been someone who has pumped the brakes on Devin Booker being a 1. I don't believe he's a 1. I think Devin Booker can be a 1 in the regular season, but that's just a whole different ballgame. He can be in the best number 2 in the league, though, on a championship winning team. That I firmly believe, and you can't take me off that opinion. I watched him do it in 2021. Yeah, he was the 1 on that team, but he could be the 2. De'Aaron Fox, yeah, he's really fast and scores a decent amount of points. In De'Aaron Fox's last full season with the Kings, he averaged 26 points on 46, 36, 73 splits. Devin Booker, sharing the floor with Kevin Durant, I might add, 27 points a game on 50, 36, 88 splits. Just interesting to see which player gets more praise, or in this instance, more criticism for the contract they're getting. All I'm saying is Quit looking at the dollar amount. Look at the player. Look at the accolades. Look at the percentage of cap he's going to be getting in those seasons. And it's just interesting to see how one guy is more highly criticized than the other, when you would argue, yeah, it might be a little bit much for Devin Booker. But between staying here, never asking out, being an all NBA caliber player, being someone who's top 5 in MVP voting before, you want to talk about deserving, let's start there. And this is no shade towards De'Aaron Fox. I would have paid him too. But the point is, oh, wait a second, you don't get to have it both ways. Deserved, overpaid, by whose metrics? Statistics? Accolades? Booker clears. And one guy's going to be making $61 million and has one All-Star game in his final age 32 season, while one guy's got 4 All-Stars, multiple playoff series wins, an NBA Finals appearance. Oh, and he didn't have to jump ship. Just my point. Just my point. And so let's all scale back this idea that Devin Booker, wildly overplayed, not deserved. I beg to differ. Because as I mentioned before, stats, accolades, not jumping ship, all leans the guy wearing purple and orange. All right. Coming up next, Brett Siegel from Clutch Points joins me, national NBA reporter covering the NBA, for that being Clutch Points, breaks down the entirety of the Jonathan Kuminga situation. Is it dead, or is it just only beginning? Let's talk about that next. First, today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. You know, one of the things for myself, I've mentioned this a couple of times before, but it bears repeating. I was paying for Peacock and Paramount Plus and Netflix. I wasn't even using any of those things. Not to mention, my wife's got a Spotify account. She has Apple Music. We're paying for 2 separate Spotify accounts and Apple Music. That's 3 accounts. Had I been using Monarch Money, it would have just been a little bit easier. I would have saw the spots we're losing money and figured that out and allocated money to things that probably actually needed money towards. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Joining me now on the show, national NBA insider and reporter from Clutch Points, my guy, Brett Siegel. Good evening, Brett. How you doing, man?
Morning for some people. You never know who's listening to the Locked On Suns podcast.
Is this your I guess I should ask you before you came on, is this your debut on the Locked On Suns podcast, or have you been on before in the past?
This is the debut episode, so let's make it a good one,
okay.
Benjamin.
Okay, so we'll call it a rookie season. We'll curve it a little bit for you. Make sure that you hit the levels that you're supposed to be reaching. Hey man, before we dive deep into the Jonathan Kuminga situation, which I know that's what a lot of Suns fans have got their teeth sunken into, I'm really curious from your perspective, as well as from what you've heard throughout the national NBA landscape. How is the Phoenix Suns front office perceived? That being Ishbia, Gregory, Josh Bartelstein. From your conversations and maybe just from your own eyes, how do people view this front office?
Well, Matt Ishbia came in guns a-blazing, and the word that I can say to best describe them is aggressive. And he was willing to do what it took and give up whatever it takes to go out and get star power for his team. He did so with Kevin Durant. Then Devin Booker and KD wanted Bradley Beal, so he went out and got Bradley Beal. They gave up pretty much their entire farm for him. And for KD, they gave up all those draft picks, young talents. Tamani Kamara is one that comes to mind that they gave up and are probably regretting giving up now. But they went all in to try to maximize a championship window in 2 to 3 years. And we're now in year 3, and 2 of those 3 stars are gone. Bradley Beal was waived and released, and he's now with the Los Angeles Clippers. Kevin Durant traded this offseason in a package that I think is a lot better than people are giving the Suns credit for. And he was traded to the Houston Rockets. And the way that I've described this, talking with other front office people around the league and just talking in general about this trade of Kevin Durant, is the Phoenix Suns didn't have any draft picks. And what they did in this trade is they not only added some future draft value, but they added draft picks in the form of guys that they are either already in the league and are young, or they went out and drafted in the second round this year. So Jalen Green, only 23 years old, and he's already a proven scorer in this league. He's only going to get better learning from Devin Booker. I think that it's a pairing that has potential. I don't think that it's going to be something that is automatically one of the best backcourt duos in the first few months that they're playing together. But in time, I think this has the potential to be a really strong scoring backcourt. And then some of those other pieces, like I mentioned, that basically act as draft picks that you get now instead of in the future. Rasheer Fleming, Kaman Malawach, Kobe Brea, 3 young guys that they have in their system now, can play during their rookie year, and they can really spend time developing these guys as they go through this rebuild, retooling process around Booker. So when you look at it that way, you're not waiting for draft picks. You already got these guys now. And I think that that's going to pay dividends down the road. But when you talk about this front office and how it's perceived, it's a very aggressive front office. It's a team that many organizations want to be at the forefront of the winning, and they want to be in that conversation right now. So regardless of if they're in a retooling or rebuilding era, they know what Matt Ishbia is capable of doing, and he proved that very early on.
Does it come off as pushy though? Because I know there was that report in the middle of the season. It might have been in the summertime, might have been in the middle of this season, but it was like teams were getting annoyed with the Phoenix Suns trying to make a deal with Jimmy Butler. Is it been perceived as more functional now that maybe Matt Ishbia got out James Jones and Robert Sarver's guys, and now it's full on Phoenix Suns, Michigan State Spartans? Like, is it seen now as like, okay, now they're not as annoying?
Yes and no. I think that it really depends on the type of front office that they're trying to deal with. And so when you look at regular front offices around the league, that they may not hold grudges, or they just operate freely. And a great example of that is the Oklahoma City Thunder with Sam Presti. They're going to go out and make the best deal for them, regardless of what team they're dealing with, regardless of what players are involved. They're going to set themselves up for organizational success. Now, the perception of Sam Presti is a lot different because people know that he's going to swindle them because he's one of the best out there. But the perception of the Suns front office, I think it really depends on who you ask. There's certain teams that don't want to do business with them because they're in the Western Conference, and there's legitimate 13 teams in the West that have playoff aspirations right now. And then there's also the feel of he's headstrong. He's a very aggressive owner. He's very hands-on compared to other organizations where the owner is very hands-off, and he brings in the guys to run the business for him. So it really does depend on who you talk to. In my opinion, I like aggressive front offices. I like those teams that they have established stars, they have guys, and they're willing to give up what it takes to win now. So I respect the moves that they made. Obviously, it didn't pay off for them. So now you have to reevaluate Matt Ishbia in this front office and new GM Brian Gregory coming in, and really dive into what moves did they make to set themselves up for future success. And I think that they've done a good job of doing so this offseason.
It just feels like, at least to me, and I'm sure a lot of other Suns fans, I'm sure you've been on, done some other stuff where you're covering the Phoenix Suns, where it felt like before Ishbia felt like he'd come in and just spend a ton of money, and that's all it took. And now it seems like maybe they have a functional plan. So I was just curious to see like how that potentially evolved over the last couple of years, or even just the last couple of months. But let's switch over to the Jonathan Kuminga situation. Just plainly, what is the latest from the Jonathan Kuminga front, from the Golden State side all the way to the Suns side? I know you've tweeted out a couple of things today, but I'll just let you condense that here. What's the latest from that? And then we can get a little bit deeper into what it actually could look like if we'd even get that far.
Ever since the offseason started, we've been really focused on Jonathan Kuminga's situation with the Warriors. We have our pulse on it, doing multiple reporting stories at clutch points. And the one constant throughout all this is that the Warriors organization do not want to give up Jonathan Kuminga. There's still a very high belief in him from the very top of that organization, and we all know who that is. It's Joe Lacob. He loves Jonathan Kuminga. He thinks that he can be an all-star in this league. And there's multiple members of that front office and that organization that are of that belief too. And it's not like they're brainwashed by whatever Lakeup says, and that's the golden rule. He's been very fluid in the process. He's worked with Mike Dunleavy Jr. in this front office about exploring different avenues of what could bring back the most value to the Warriors. And the conclusion there is that the most value is still bringing back this guy. And whether or not it's for the long term, whether or not he's going to be there in the post Curry era, it doesn't sound like it. Seems like it's going to be more of a short term marriage, but you don't want to just give up this guy for nothing. And that's been the MO ever since the offseason started, is that they're not going to let him walk by signing an offer sheet with another team. They're not going to be taken advantage of in sign and trades where they take on bad contracts and they just send Kuminga to a team that he wants to go to, or a better situation where he can get more playing time. It's obviously the goal. They want the best for the player, but at the same time, they want to set themselves up for organizational success, because this is not a rebuilding franchise. They went all in last season when they traded for Jimmy Butler, and they're kind of putting themselves on a time limit with Stephen Curry here, because when he's healthy, I don't think anybody can deny that Stephen Curry is still a top 5, top 10 player in this league, and he plays at an MVP level come playoff time. So any team that has a healthy Steph Curry in the playoffs, it's hard to bet against them. It's hard to count them out in the Western Conference, and we saw that when they dethroned the 2-seeded Houston Rockets in the first round. If we had a healthy Stephen Curry going against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who knows what would have happened in that series. But all word right now is that the Warriors do want to hold on to Jonathan Kuminga, and the word surrounding sign and trades, it's very interesting because it doesn't seem like that's going to be developing at this time.
Okay, so here's my first question to that. My follow-up is, but why? Like, it's like the girlfriend that you're too scared to break up with because you're worried she might do better. Because everything I'm seeing is they don't like Jonathan Kuminga. And when I say, and like, of course, like, I'm not like you. I don't have any sources to be able to go out and ask my guys over in the Warriors camp. But what I'll say is, Kerr's not playing him when it matters. He doesn't trust him. And like, I get it. Lakeup's got an affinity for the guy, sure. However, he's not the one that plays these guys. And it looks like Kerr, I get moving on from Kuminga and getting something in return, not wanting to get rid of him for nothing. But like, I know that maybe that's what you're being told, but I just don't buy it. That sounds a little fishy, right?
It does, and it kind of goes back to Kuminga's first year in the league. When they originally drafted this guy, they viewed him as being a duplicate of an Andrew Wiggins type player, where he could play out on the wing, he could develop a three-point shot in time, and he would be a guy that they could rely heavily upon defensively, and he'd be a slasher to the rim. He could run in transition. And to Kuminga's credit, he's done a lot of those things with the Warriors. The only two problems are, A, he's not a shooter, and B, he can't really play in a system next to Stephen Curry, next to Draymond Green, where they're constantly moving the ball. And when the ball gets in Kuminga's hands, they can't have him having tunnel vision. He needs to be able to move that ball, set screens, dive to the rim. And that's a lot of what we saw Jimmy Butler do when he came over. He kind of took on a different role where he was the alpha number one with the Miami Heat. Now he's setting screens. He's dashing to that free throw line extended. He's getting other guys involved. He's being a willing passer. And he's almost like a second Draymond in a way, where they're able to create offense through him, because Stephen Curry, as good as he is of playing isolation basketball and dribbling on his own, he's most effective when he's running off those screens and he's running off the ball and he's finding open space on the court. Jonathan Kuminga, he's more give me the ball, get out of the way. I'm going to use my athleticism and my length to be able to get to the hoop, which is fine. It worked when Curry, Butler, and Draymond were in the game. But the problem that Kerr has had is finding a way to integrate him into this system that has worked for the last decade. Kerr's not going to change his system. They're not going to change the way that they play for Jonathan Kuminga. And so that's where the questions lie of, hey, he doesn't fit our system. His value, there is value out there, but can we capitalize on it? And so far in these sign and trade conversations, there hasn't been anything of value that they've liked. But the opposite side of it is that they don't want to just give him up because Jonathan Kuminga wants out. They know that. They know his contract demands, and they're not willing to budge on that right now. They basically have their 2-year offer out there. They know it's the best offer on the table. It's a 2-year, $46 million deal. Maybe they come down on some of those stipulations, like the team option in the second year. Maybe it's just more of a partial guarantee or something like that. That's kind of like a team option, but it's different language for the player where they're actually guaranteed some money. So we'll see what happens here. But I truly do believe that there's no path in which he'll take that qualifying offer. It truly seems like that's bluff from him and his agent, Aaron Turner, on that front to try and create leverage on a sign and trade. But the Warriors aren't budging on that, and they've closed all avenues in terms of sign and trades this offseason.
Also, today's show is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings that bold grape, ginger, and lime of your favorite golf drink minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot, whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends. This one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest. Some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost in your body to stay sharp and energized. Listen, I've only been golfing once in my life. And that was last year at my fantasy football party with a bunch of my buddies. And we got up at like 5 a.m. for our tee time at 6. And listen, I'm on vacation. I'm not ready to wake up at that time. What do? Pound of 5-hour energy. I'm out there, shooting on the green, and me and the buddies having a ball of a time, not feeling tired at all. So, hey, golf is all about good times and good people and good flavors, of course. The grape, ginger, lime gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the beverage cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com. You can use promo code LockedOnGolf to receive 20% off your first order or 20% off your order. This is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with your friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order Transfusion 5-hour energy shots today. So, from the Suns' perspective, I don't want to keep you much longer past I already, scheduled out with you. You're a very busy guy. So, I want to ask you this. Like, when it comes to the Suns' perspective, here's why I'm a little confused. I cover this team, 365 days of the year. The Suns kind of felt like they went to superstar rehab, where they went out and got too many. They overdosed on it and realized they needed to back off from that. And they had a plan, right? They went out and got role players, new young players, and then they immediately want to go get the big fish again. I'm not necessarily saying Kuminga is a big star, but he's a big fish in terms of the free agency market. And I just don't get it, because the team that the Suns are building right now is tough, sure, athleticism, defensive driven. You already kind of have a guy in Jalen Green who doesn't shoot the ball super efficiently, can get to the rim at will. Why are the Suns so infatuated with Jonathan Kuminga? Or is that overstated because of what their offer might be, if you know what that is, or if it's just too low?
So I think it's a mix of a few things. And to your part of that latter part there, I think that is true as well, of potentially getting off some unmovable contracts and quotes that are long-term deals like Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, that you're basically married to those contracts unless you're willing to give up capital to move off of them. So looking at Jonathan Kuminga, he's a 22-year-old and widely viewed around the league as a guy that has a lot of potential still for growth, because he just hasn't played for the Warriors. If you give this guy 28, 30, 32 minutes a game, he can be a productive starter in this league in the right system. And from the Suns' perspective, where you're building a very athletic, younger team, take a chance on a guy like Jonathan Kuminga. And if it doesn't work out, he's still going to be 24 years old, entering the third year of his contract that he could potentially get in a sign and trade. Maybe you then flip him for another star when you're ready to go all in, and whether that's 2027, 2028. And kind of backpedaling here and looking back at the Warriors situation, that's another reason why they want to keep him, to open up that flexibility for trades. And the one name everybody keeps talking about, he may not stay in Milwaukee, Giannis Antetokounmpo. And we've reported multiple times throughout the years, dating back to even 2022, 2023, that the Warriors have been infatuated by Giannis Antetokounmpo. They envision him being their future and to bridge that next era after Stephen Curry. We know about the friendship those two have, and we could go on and on of talking about different scenarios for that. But the thing is, if you have a young guy like Jonathan Kuminga and he's on, let's say, a $24, $25 million contract, all of a sudden that's a 23, 24-year-old with a very movable contract in terms of getting another superstar in a deal. So that's kind of where I think the attractiveness lies in his contract. But at the end of the day, let's say you bring him in and he's able to get good playing time in a position that the Suns don't have a lot of depth in at the power forward position. Maybe that winds up working out with an athletic guard like Jalen Green, with a proven scorer like Devin Booker. And their interest in him goes back to the trade deadline. This isn't new from the offseason. They were set to acquire Jonathan Kuminga and Jimmy Butler in a big trade package at the trade deadline that would have sent Kevin Durant to the Warriors. Obviously, that trade got shot down by Durant and Rich Kleiman, his representation. And then that's how we got to the trade this offseason with the Houston Rockets. But the interest in Jonathan Kuminga has been there from the Suns. I just have not heard anything in terms of them having a package that the Warriors want. The Warriors do not want Royce O'Neal and Nick Richards. I've heard that they're not interested in Nick Richards whatsoever. Suns can only offer second round picks. Really, they don't have any valuable first round picks moving forward. And the thing with Grayson Allen is that he makes $18 million this year for his production. That's not bad, but you still got 2 more years after this upcoming season on that contract. Now you're talking about taking on a guy through the entirety of his contract, because you probably wouldn't move that if you're the Warriors. So that's why there's really not much interest there brewing in Phoenix. I would even say it's less than a 1% chance at this point that they could make a sign and trade for Jonathan Kuminga.
Less than 1%. Okay, well, for all extensive purpose, that's just shooting that down, or at least keeping it on life support for the next couple of seconds. Let me just ask you this really quickly. Is there a world where the Suns would trade Ryan Dunn or Oso Ighodaro, or maybe one more than the other? But there's like this debate in the Suns community of like, we can't trade Oso, and although they can't name to me one thing he does super well offensively, but he's just a solid player, right? He doesn't do anything amazing. Ryan Dunn, it feels like that's a whole nother story. Yeah. Either one of those two guys, have you heard the Suns have any interest in moving in a Kuminga deal, or maybe down the line?
No, I have not heard that this offseason that they're interested in moving either guy. I would think, just from my understanding and looking at their roster, that Oso Ighodaro is a lot more movable given the front court depth that they added. Last season, they added Nick Richards. They bring in Mark Williams. Now they have Kamal Malawach. So now you kind of ask, well, where's Ighodaro going to play? Is he going to play more 4 now? Or are they going to try to continue building him into an Al Horford type role early on in his career with the Atlanta Hawks? So I think that there's a path forward for Ighodaro, but I would definitely say he's the more available guy, in quotes, of if they were to move off of a youthful piece, he would most likely be the guy. I know that they absolutely love Ryan Dunn, and word from Summer League is that they were impressed with certain aspects of his game. They love his two-way capabilities. They think that in time he can become one of the better 3-and-D players in this league. And the one name that I've heard tossed around as a comparison that they keep talking about is a guy like Luguentz Dort from the Oklahoma City Thunder, where when he entered the league, he was just an on-ball defender. He was one of the worst 3-point shooters. And now look at him. He's an NBA champion, and he's probably the best 3-and-D player in this league right now. And he shot over 40% from 3-point range. So I think that's a similar career trajectory that the Suns are going to try to build Ryan Dunn into. And obviously his athletic potential is through the roof. This is a guy that they can give the ball to and run in transition with. And I think that he's going to complement a guy like Jalen Green very well in those second lineups that we see when Booker goes to the bench. We're going to see the Suns really look to play faster, play younger, and get some guys out there that can wear down some of those older teams in the West. So I think that in terms of Ryan Dunn and his potential, he's got a lot. And I think that they're going to want to keep him long-term. I haven't heard anything that he's been shopped at all. They have not offered him to the Golden State Warriors. So if there's any reports out there that that's the case, it is not true. He has not been offered to the Warriors. And they're going to be holding on to Ryan Dunn and looking to really integrate him into Jordan Ott's system.
Just squashing the dreams of both Warriors fans and Suns fans. Ryan Dunn's not going anywhere. For kicks and giggles, and this is just 10, 15-second answer, what do you think happens with Kuminga? Do you think he signs the 2-year, I think it's 2-year, $45 million deal that's on the table? You think that's what happens? He signs that and it's done?
I do. I think that they're going to agree to a short-term deal. I think him signing the qualifying offer, you're not only giving up an extra $18 million this year, but you're giving up $25 million for the following year. And I think that that's just not good business to give up $35-40 million to try to bet on yourself when you're a young player that just needs an opportunity to play. So I think he will be back with the Warriors. I don't really see anything brewing on the sign and trade front with the Kings. I don't think that they're going to lower any protections on their first round pick. And even if they do, a 2030 unprotected pick, let's say, and Malik Monk is not enough to get Jonathan Kuminga, because now you're talking about the Warriors having you're talking about having the Warriors to match salary, so they'd have to give up Buddy Hield and or Moses Moody to make it work, and they're not going to give up one of those guys on top of Jonathan Kuminga. So that's why I think all paths and all roads lead to Jonathan Kuminga reuniting with the Warriors, and we'll see what happens once he becomes trade eligible in January before the trade deadline.
So this is it. This is what the Suns are rolling out next year. Jalen Green, Devin Booker, and a bunch of cast of young guys trying to make the NBA playoffs. All right, you know what? Fine. We wanted to bring Jonathan Kuminga here for the right price, but Listen, you got to hear from Brett Siegel, my guy, national NBA insider and reporter for Clutch Points. He has been all over the Jonathan Kuminga situation for in the Phoenix Suns front, the Warriors front. Obviously, if you guys see this guy on social media, Brett Siegel NBA, give him a follow. Tell him thank you for coming on. He's got a million different things going on. So for my guy, Brett Siegel, thanks for joining me, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Phoenix Suns. Thanks to my guy, Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, for joining us and breaking down that Jonathan Kuminga situation that looks like it could take a couple of more weeks to finally have a resolution. But for myself, all you guys watching Locked On Suns, I will see you guys later this week.